Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Western Hippie podcast. I'm your host, Michaela. I am here with Tank and Willie the Corgi, and it feels like it has been a minute since we have sat down and had a conversation. So I am so thankful you're here. I'm so thankful to be talking to you today. And I was really thinking, about what I personally have had going on behind the scenes. And really, for me, I've been in the middle of an identity shift for about 2 years now. And one of the things I was thinking about is why has this been, and I was and can judge myself for it, but I've really been working on getting my optimism back, to be honest with you, because my optimism was a gift. And, the interesting thing about gifts, especially the ones that we're just born with that are innate within us, I think sometimes we do have to lose them to appreciate them. And in the getting them back, that's what makes us appreciate them so much because, when something's a gift and we're just born with it, we're so close to it, we take it for granted, in a lot of ways. And so then when we have that season of not having it and we have to kind of claw for it and get it back, that's what really makes the appreciation and grow and say, like, I'm never going to do this again. And so for me, optimism it was fairly natural. And then I lost it. Like I really got this doom and gloom perception of not just the world, but of everything. And so in working on getting that back, when I catch myself beating myself up over something, I'm really looking for what is the gift in this? Because I think it would be really simple for me. It is really simple for me. I don't think it is to say, okay, Michaela, you've been in the middle of this identity shift for 2 years now. Like, hurry the fuck up. Let's go. Move, move, move. And instead, the gift is there are so many of us in this boat. So the gift is this my problem to solve? And whether it is or isn't, I'm going to take on that problem and I'm going to solve this problem of really figuring out why do so many of us get on the tipping point of a new identity and go backwards. And then we get back on the tipping point and then we go, it perceived as backwards, right? But let's say instead of backwards, like shifting back into the old identity. So we're on the verge of shifting into fifth gear. We're in fourth gear. And instead of shifting into fifth gear, we keep going back to third gear for some reason. Again, not right or wrong. There's a reason for third gear. There's a reason for fourth gear. There's a reason for fifth gear. But when our current goals require us to be in fifth gear, it is counterproductive to our goals to keep going back into third gear, right? And so why is that? And that's what I've really been sitting with. And part of it is just finding the gift. Again, like, oh, what is this doing for me? It's like, okay, well, this is helping me see that so many other people are solving the problem. This is really helping me see how important it is to regulate our nervous system and to feel safe so that our body doesn't pull us back into third gear because it doesn't feel safe traveling at fifth gear, right? The metaphor I'm kind of seeing in my head is, I had this older truck when I was in high school, and the newer truck I have, it is so easy to go 85 miles an hour. So easy. Feels like you're going 45. It's just so smooth. And my truck in high school, you got up over 60 and you were questioning your life. So you didn't go over 60. There was nothing wrong with the speed limit. It was the vehicle that I was driving. And so that is what our body is. Our body is the vehicle. And so, of course, we're not going to want to go up into fifth gear if the tire is wobbling and we're questioning our life. So how do we optimize our vehicle, AKA our body, AKA our nervous system, to feel safe going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour into that fifth gear or sixth gear, whatever gear you need to be in. So for me, that's the gift in it is, okay, they're actually, I've been on what a lot of people would call a healing and personal development journey consciously since 2017, unconsciously since I was 12. Some of you know my background, some of you don't. But, when I experienced the sexual assaults, even though I didn't consciously know it yet, I did start going on a healing journey because I knew for some reason, I always had the awareness that what that hatred was doing to my body was just not good for me. And I had to figure out how to let it go. And so I wouldn't have called it a healing journey. I would have called it just trying to not hate the bastard back then. Um, but that's definitely what it was. And then, in different layers. And then in, 2015, 2016, technically, like became a little bit more conscious of it because I had to face some things I quote unquote thought I was fine, what we would say quote unquote thought was healed. And one of the things in all of those journeys that I've been learning is the process at which we go through it does matter. If we don't have safety in our nervous system, if we don't have the self-worth to believe we can get into that fifth gear, so the safety to get to that fifth gear, again, feeling like the vehicle is safe enough for us to get to that speed limit, and then also feeling worthy of going that speed, feeling worthy of getting up into that gear, we are going to self-protect. Self-protection, a lot of people would call that self-sabotage. It is actually self-protection. The body would never do anything to sabotage itself. And when we say words, one of the things I really just want you to bring to your own awareness when you're saying words is what images is it creating in your mind? Because the conscious mind speaks in words. The subconscious mind, which is where 90% of our systems that create our reality, let's say, live, speaks in images and feelings. So when we say self sabotage, I don't know about for you, but for me, I see an image of me stabbing myself. And when we think about our biological brain, the survival brain's main priority is to keep us alive. When that is the main priority, when that is the primary goal of our body and our primal minds, it would never intentionally and purposely stab itself. And so knowing that, I know, okay, I would never actually self-sabotage. But then also knowing the body's main priority, the primal brain's main priority is to keep us alive, it would self-protect 110%. And so that's really what I've been going through. I think we all have, those of us that are here to teach and help other people, we have the experimentation phase. And then we have the phase where we're taking everything that we've learned and we're working on putting it into a curriculum. And that is where I'm at. I'm working on taking everything I've learned and putting it into a really intentional curriculum. And so it's safety. Do we feel safe going to the next level? Meaning, is there anything we're trying to protect ourselves from? And then the self-worth. Because if we don't have those two key things first, that's when we hit the tipping point and go backwards. And so again, I've just very much been in the trenches of learning this. And instead of, again, making myself wrong for, okay, because this would have been one of my old scripts, I would have told myself like, okay, Michaela, you've spent this amount of money here. You've done all of these things here. Why aren't you in a different spot if you've done and know all of these things? And my answer has been like, because it's not integrated in my body, because my body still doesn't feel safe enough to integrate the information and to go to that next level. And so instead of making myself wrong, really treating ourselves like, hey, what do you need? Because I know this is really important to you. And so there must be a reason, like talking to our body, hey, there must be a reason that you don't feel safe going into this. And especially, as someone who has experienced sexual assault, of course my body's going to protect me. And, for you, even if you haven't experienced sexual assault of any kind, there is still something your body will protect you from, whether it's embarrassment, humiliation, rejection, right? Like our body, we all have things that we're protecting ourselves from. And so in all of that, I just want to say, like, one, my curriculum is coming. I'm working on it. And two, you're not broken. You're not. You may feel broken, but it is a feeling and it's not the truth. And so in that feeling, just remind yourself, oh, this isn't the truth. This is just a feeling. There is a reason I'm experiencing this feeling. So let's get curious and let's figure it out. And because I just, again, felt broken for so many years. And even in the last, couple months of realizing like, oh, I haven't been able to really integrate this stuff because like I'm here to figure out the solution. And, I was talking to a friend of mine last night and he was saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry for being so stubborn." I'm like, "Hey, if you and I can figure ourselves out, like we can help anybody," right? Like that is the beauty of being, for me, of being so freaking stubborn. It's like, okay, if I can get me on board, I can get freaking anybody on board, right? And so I guess I'll just take, this first half of the podcast to say, we can find a beauty in so many of the things that we see a flaw in. So with that, take some time today to really just talk to yourself without judgment and to find the beauty in something that maybe you've defining in yourself as ugly. With all of that being said, I want to transition to the second half of this show, which is talking about Cinderella. When I was, it's funny because it's not really my favorite Disney movie anymore, but I loved that movie as a kid. And why this topic has been coming up, because what I've really been asking is, how do we become the hero of our own story? Because there's this concept in the brain where, again, our brain is really taught to look for things externally. So even when we're watching movies, the connections that our brain is making. So in the case of Cinderella, the quote unquote prince saved her. And, we all joke like Disney ruined our lives because we're all waiting for a prince to come save us. But there's one key ingredient, there's one key point that we've all been missing because of how our brains work. Because our brains have been taught to look for the external things, to look for things externally, we all see it as the prince saved her. The piece that we are missing is the part where Cinderella saved herself first. Because had she not been bound and determined to get to that dance, she could not have met the prince that quote unquote saved her. And this is where, I haven't titled this episode yet, but thinking about like Cinderella saved herself. And here's why. Because she was bound and determined to get to that dance. Or the ball, I think it was called. I haven't watched it in a while. And again, so many of us might say, well, the fairy godmother came. Yes. And if you have watched the movie, Cinderella still made herself what we would call an energetic match to have that fairy godmother come help her. The animals made her, like, she was going to that dance no matter what. She was going to get that dress done no matter what. It was her determination of, I am worthy enough to go to this dance. I am valuable enough to go to this dance. I'm not going to let her stop me. I'm going to go no matter what. Even if she makes me clean everything, like I am going to figure out a way to be there and I'm going to be there. And so even when the dress gets ruined and she goes out and like cries in the yard, she still made herself a match to have the fairy godmother come and help her. And even she also like made herself a match to have all of those animals, she was kind to the animals, she was helpful to the animals, and they all helped her because she helped them. And so even that, she did it. And that is one of the things that why so many of us are drowning in self-doubt and having a lack of self-confidence is because we are constantly taught to look externally. And my mom has this really beautiful saying. I think it came from her mom. Both of her moms passed away. My mom had a mom and her mom died when my mom was 9, and then her aunt adopted her. And I'm sure any of you guys know, it's like, it's like, we got 2 grandmas over here, right? Like, we're not doing the whole, well, that's technically like adopted. It's like, nah, they're grandmas. So I never got to meet either one of them because they both died when I was, well, obviously, my mom's biological mom died when my mom was 9. And then, my grandma that adopted her, I was 2 when she passed away. So I like kind of remember going to her house, and I like kind of can remember her holding me, but I was 2. So very, very vaguely. And I can't remember which one had the saying, but it was the give credit where credit is due. And so many of us will give everyone else credit where it is due, but we will not give ourselves credit where it is due. And so we all think about like, oh, the opportunity. I'm trying to think of an opportunity. Like, oh, this opportunity saved my life. Like this opportunity changed my life. Or even with TikTok or Instagram, like someone will have a video go viral and they're like, oh, this video changed my life. They still had to upload the video. They still had to put themselves out there, and they still had to make themselves an energetic match to have the video go viral. And so again, we have to stop. We have to give credit where credit is due. And in that, we have to stop giving credit where credit is not due. And so, yes, of course, we want to be grateful. And yes, of course, we want to be thankful for these opportunities that assist us in changing our life. And we also want to give ourselves the credit where credit is due. We still put ourselves out there. We still made ourselves, we did the emotional work to make ourselves a match for these things to happen. We, for me, put in the time and effort of reading the books, taking the courses, investing the money. Like, where have you not been giving yourself credit where it is due? And again, going back to the Cinderella story, realizing that the prince didn't save her. She saved herself and made herself an emotional match for the prince to meet her and to love her and to, I even am having, like, with this perspective shift I've been having with it, um, I've been having a hard time saying, like, he saved her. Like, and I'm not into the whole, like, I don't consider myself a feminist by any means. And I'm not into the whole, like, as someone who has been, I'll put it this way, as someone who has been hyper independent, I'm going to be 30 in September. And as someone who's been hyper independent, essentially almost 30 years, it has not been good for me. It has not been beneficial for me. And the times that I have been dating, there is a sense of peace that, and I don't think this is wrong, and I think we've made it wrong. There is a sense of peace that I have only experienced when I have been with a partner. And because, like, femininity is very receptive. And so when we have a man that can really, that makes us feel safe and, like, fully puts us in our receptivity, I just think there's another depth and another level that we can go to when a really safe man is present. And so I don't want to say this in, like, I don't want this to come off at all of, like, we don't need no man. No. But again, we still have to make ourselves a match for that safe and strong man to come in. And that's where we have to give ourselves the credit. And so Cinderella saved herself by making herself a match for Prince Charming to come in. And so that is what I also want you to look at today, is where do you need to give yourself credit where maybe you have been giving somebody else credit? And the biggest thing is, where have you been looking for the answer outside of yourself, where you really need to look within? And so again, we're talking about Cinderella and Prince Charming. So where have you been looking for the man to come and make you feel whole, for the man to come and make you feel valuable? Like, oh, if I get XYZ type of man, then I'll prove to myself that I am special. How are you already special? Because it's in knowing that you have that specialness that you will attract your Prince Charming, and however that looks for you, or your princess, if you're a guy listening to this. How can you prove to yourself that you are worthy of the woman of your dreams, or that you are worthy of the man of your dreams? And so, because why this is so important is, it's teaching ourselves how to create from a state of wholeness instead of a state of brokenness. And I want you to just think of wholeness and versus brokenness as a foundation. Do you want to lay or build your house on a foundation of brokenness or wholeness? And for me, I always see, like, is the foundation solid, or does it look like Swiss cheese? Because I don't know about you, but I do not want my house built on the Swiss cheese foundation, the broken foundation. I want it built on the whole and solid foundation, because when we build from a state of brokenness, we're always worried about things falling through. We're always worried about things not working out. This is when we experience imposter syndrome, because we don't feel worthy of it anyway. And then that's when the self-protection will start to kick on, because the script is, oh, I'm not worthy of this. And so since I'm not worthy of this, I have to protect myself from losing it, because if I'm not worthy, I'm going to lose it. And so then I have to start shielding. And it's actually that shielding that starts to create that quote unquote self-sabotage. It's not that we weren't actually objectively worthy of the thing. It's the story that we're not worthy. And then from the side effect of that story, creating the self-protection. And then that's what starts to manipulate or quote unquote sabotage the situation. And so, yeah, that's really all I have for you today. But again, just wanting to bring awareness to the fact that Cinderella saved herself. She decided she was valuable. She decided she was special, and she decided she was going to, that she was worthy of going to that ball, that dance. And that's how she met her Prince Charming. Yes, he showed up on her doorstep, quote unquote, later. But again, she had to go there. She had to drop the glass slipper so that they had something to go and find her with. And so it's so easy to say that Prince Charming came and saved her, but the reality is Cinderella saved herself. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Western Hippie Podcast. Tank, Willie, and I will talk to you next week.